Today we're lucky to have a good friend, Jodie Cook, on the podcast. Jodie sold her agency for 7 figures. She's a best-selling author, champion powerlifter, Forbes contributor, and founder of Coach Fox, an industry-leading AI company. In this episode, we dive into those turning points where everything shifts.
For lots of people, it takes that one moment of what the hell am I doing with my life to realize that they need to change something.
We challenge the backwards approach most of us take, drifting through careers and choices without direction.
We don't really set the goals and then work back from there. We just go, business management degree, let's do that. That seems like a good idea. No one thinks this far ahead, and I think it's backwards. And I think there's this whole other way of achieving success that I've got a little system for.
We discover how clarity transforms coincidence into confirmation and how intuition might be the missing piece between where you are and where you're meant to be.
When you know that you're taking the aligned action towards it, I feel like the universe kind of winks at you. I feel like you see signs, and mostly we don't see signs. We miss them because we're just not paying attention.
Enjoy the episode.
Okay, Freddie, I think this is really exciting.
I'm into it. Let's go.
Because we've already talked, so we've covered all the basics. We went for dinner after the recording. We know all about each other's lives. We've met each other's partners. All of the basics are covered. Foundations are there. So now I think this is where we can just geek out on something that we're both interested in. And I feel that is getting what we want, being intentional about achieving our business goals. And one thing I thought was really interesting when I was researching you for this episode was that you did a business management degree.
I did.
I also did a business management degree.
Okay.
There were 300 people on my course. Do you know how many people were on your course?
Similar.
Do you know how many people actually manage a business now?
Very, very few.
Same. What do most of them do?
Work some mid-level management job.
Yes, they work as consultants or they work as some kind of thing. Yeah, that is exactly the same for nearly everyone I did my course with. And I feel like this is just so symbolic of how we bumble through life, how we bumble through our careers, how we bumble through education. We don't really set the goals and then work back from there. We just go, business management degree, let's do that. That seems like a good idea. And even people who do a course like dentistry or they train to be a doctor, they don't really think about the day-to-day of being a dentist or a doctor. They don't think, okay, I'm going to have this commute to a practice. I'm going to be opening people's mouths. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing that. This is what I'm going to wear. It's like no one thinks this far ahead. And I think it's backwards. And I think there's this whole other way of achieving success that I've got a little system for that I want to run you through today, because I think it's so much better to the bumbling, so much better from the bumbling through life that all of us do so far.
Let's do it. That sounds interesting, because I mean, the amount of analysis that we do in our businesses every single day. Have you ever analysed why you even got to uni? Why did you even get there? No one in my family went to uni. I literally just told it was the conveyor belt I should take.
Yeah.
And there was only one guy on my course that I remember being the guy that I think is still brilliant. And he sat next to me in one of the modules that was called entrepreneurship. And the lecturer was an American lady who had a property portfolio. And she said to him one of the days when he was misbehaving or something, she said, you're never going to run a big business. You're never going to be an entrepreneur. You haven't got what it takes, like me. Very sort of narcissistic. And he stood up, picked up his laptop and said, I've already paid for this university degree in full with the job or the business that I set up in my gap year. And now he owns, I don't know if he's even involved anymore, with one of the biggest driving license, sort of online driving license for HGVs in the UK.
Nice.
And she is now mentored by him.
Yes.
So that's the only example of someone at my university that I know of where someone's really gone against the grain. But everyone else, like you say, it's gone straight into jobs, and they've now got houses and mortgages, and they're quote unquote happy with whatever they've got.
And this is honestly the education conveyor belt. And I think it's just because schools have to have their own mark scheme, which is just how many people can you get to university. So it was exactly the same for me. It wasn't, what do you want to do? It was, which university are you going to go to? And now I think I'm on balance pleased I went, because it taught me how to grow up, but it definitely didn't teach me how to run a business. I only learned that from doing it.
Which uni did you go to?
Sheffield.
Do you know how many people from Sheffield University have sold a business?
No.
I would guarantee it's just you.
So it might be. I think there are a few. I think there are some really cool people that have come out of Sheffield. But I partly know this because their alumni team really do keep in touch.
Oh, there you go.
And I've got a thing on the wall of Sheffield University, which has got my powerlifting singlet in it, and it's
Nice.
got like my book in it, and it's basically just storage because I'm a nomad, so I don't have anywhere to store stuff, so I just send it to the university and they put it on the wall.
You're like the best marketing for Sheffield.
It's
Jodie
really
Cook.
easy. Yeah. So potentially there's a few, but I guess you're in the minority.
Absolutely.
Maybe if you do go down the business route, and if you start a business, sell a business, do everything else.
But also, I didn't do a business degree to start a business. I just wanted to be in business. I just wanted to be around. I wanted to be a finance bro. I wanted to go out there and like get on the tube and go into town and have my coffee and work in the city. But that also doesn't mean anything. So I wasn't intentional at all with that either. I just wanted to do something that I thought at the time was sort of cool. And then I did a master's in economics, not because I thought I should do something with it, just because I thought I need to be different. And that was the next conveyor belt step. It was job or continue. And I was like, well, I'll continue. I worked alongside it, but it's another conveyor belt, isn't it? Which then a job becomes and a mortgage becomes. It's like there's always someone putting something in front of you to get you through life. Yeah. Maybe in a way to control you.
And it's not the way to be happy, and it's not the way to be successful.
No.
And I think that for lots of people, it takes that one moment of what the hell am I doing with my life to realize that they need to change something. And I know for you, it was quite a big accident.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking back, that was probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. Having that car crash and going, there's now a sort of fork in the road. Either you go back to what you were doing, being in your comfort zone, being safe, being happy. We were happy. Or you take a risk and you go and try something. Because if it doesn't work, you can fall back on the degree, or you can fall back on the stuff you've done. But I think it's really sad when that kind of massive event happens to you too late. Maybe you're in your 70s or 80s and you're like, whoa, life's so short. It happened to me in my mid-20s. How lucky am I that there was no lasting injuries and I had that realization early on.
So I guess what we're going to try and do is make it so that everyone listening doesn't need to have a car accident to choose their new way forward, and help people get more intentional about everything and plan goals out and then achieve them without having this feeling that you're pushing and you're making lots of effort and you're really grinding and hustling. Because I used to think like that, but now I believe this is a whole different way.
And you've been writing a lot about this in Forbes, right? Your articles I've been reading are a lot about this mindset and this shifting sort of thing you're into.
Yeah. This is just maybe it's an occupational hazard. I find something that I'm really interested in, and then I completely geek out on it. And on this topic especially, I'm so unbelievably not an expert. I'm like a few steps into this journey, figuring stuff out. But when I've started reading about how to really set goals, how to really make things happen, how to really achieve everything that you want to achieve, I look back and I think, I've done this by accident. Every time it's worked, it's because I've followed this method. But now there is a method.
So what was the turning point where you did think, I should understand this better?
So if I look back at selling my agency, competing in powerlifting, starting to be nomadic and travel the world, everything I've done where I look back and I go, I'm proud of that. It wasn't that I stumbled into it. It wasn't that I education conveyor belted myself into it. It was that I said, no, this is what I'm going to do. And then I had these steps that led up to achieving it.
Okay, so do we know what the steps are?
Yeah, so I made an acronym. And actually, I want to caveat this first, that there are some absolutely amazing thinkers and writers in this space who go really deep in this topic. They understand the science, they understand all of it, like Neville Goddard, Rhonda Byrne, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Oprah, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Esther and Jerry Hicks, Gabrielle Bernstein, Deepak Chopra. Like, there are so many people who are actual experts in this topic. I'm just figuring it out as I go along. And so my method, I put the acronym CLAIMS in place, as in like Freddie claims what he wants, Jodie claims what she wants.
Nice.
So yeah, it kind of makes sense. Me and ChatGPT, we came up with it.
Are you giving it away now? Okay.
All together. Okay, so the first thing, and also we're going to run this through with you as well.
Okay.
I guess we'll both do it. We'll think of stuff that we want to achieve, the goals we want to achieve, and we'll run through this exact method.
Okay.
So the C in CLAIM stands for clarify. And this is where you state your intention clearly as if it's already happened. So it's like as an affirmation, and it's in really clear terms. So for example, I have a top 10 business podcast, or I sold my company for $100 million, or I am bench press world champion. So can you think of one that you want to say right now?
I am I run one of the top 10 podcasts in the world.
I run one of the top 10 podcasts in the world. Okay, nice. So that is specific and clear. So I asked a friend about this, and he told me that he wanted to be a jacked millionaire.
Not clear enough.
Not clear enough.
What does jack mean?
What does jack mean? Does jack mean a certain body fat percentage? Does it mean a certain squat lift? Does it mean how you look? Does it mean what does jacked even mean? Does it just mean that you feel jacked, that someone calls you jacked? Don't know.
I wonder if I can guess who that was as well. I won't do it now.
Probably. But then you've also got millionaire. That's not actually clear.
No.
Because is that million net worth? Is that in £1,000,000, dollars?
Is it revenue?
Yen?
Is it profit?
Is it revenue? Is it profit? Is it what? Like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. So I'm glad that you said that, because
I
that's
passed the first test.
a super
Yes.
clear one. Well, I guess also you can't get what you want unless you know what you want. And I also think you have to be able to recognize when it's true. So that moment when it comes true, what does it actually look like? And I feel like for Jacked Millionaire, you couldn't really go, oh, now. Because there's no marker in there.
I want to take a second to speak about our sponsor, Pith and Stem, who we are thrilled to have on this journey with us. As someone who is always looking for ways to improve my healthy hustle, Pith and Stem's drop top desk stood out to me as the best full work from home solution on the market. The world of work from home is changing, and a laptop or screen perched on your lap or dining room table isn't enough anymore. It's imperative that we have a solution at home that matches our productivity station that we can have in our office. But of course, homes weren't made to be worked in, and not all of us want a dedicated study. That's why I'm so happy that Pith and Stem created this perfect solution. They designed this desk with both the needs of the professional and their home in mind. It's perfect because it allows me to have a full productivity station that suits my needs and helps me get the most out of every minute that I spend at it, not only so I work comfortably, but that I actually enjoy it. And the best thing about Drop Top, I can close and lock it at the end of the day to keep work and home separate. And it looks awesome on the wall. You can get your Drop Top desk anywhere in the world from pithandstem.com, or just Google Drop Top and you'll find it pretty quickly. What does it mean when you do achieve it though? What happens then? Do you then set another goal, or have you thought into that as well? Because I wonder, a lot of people I've spoken to who've sold a business, as an obvious example, they're like, I want to sell my business, I want to have enterprise value. And then they sell it and they go into manic depression and they really struggle to get out of it because that was the goal and they don't really know what the next thing is. Is there something in that sort of frame that you've thought about?
So how I would conceptualize this is you feel like you're climbing a mountain, and then when you get to the top of the mountain, you realize that you're in a mountain range. And there are loads of other ones, and then you get to choose, and often that mountain you thought was the biggest mountain ever is actually really small. But now you're almost, because you're at the top of your mountain and you can see the other ones, you don't feel like you have to go to the bottom and start again. You almost have this sense that, you know, like flying squirrels.
Yeah.
You almost have this sense that you can flying squirrel across to the next one.
I see.
And then you can get up the next mountain with different ace cards, different skills.
Oh, that's a great point, right? Because, you know, we could use you as an example. You've built your business, sold your business, but you're also, and you've built another business, but you're also one of the best network people that I know. You know everyone all around the world. So now if you've got a problem, you just go, well, who can I speak to there? So rather than going back down and starting again or Googling something, you can just go, does this person know?
Yep.
How can I take a shortcut?
So this was a really big challenge when I started my second business.
Okay.
Because I had the first business, had it for 10 years, then sold it, took a couple of years off, thought about what to do next. When I started the new business, I was so confused because I was thinking, yes, I'm starting from scratch, but I'm just starting from a different place. And then a friend said something like, oh, I'm going to this networking event for like new businesses. Do you want to come? And I was like, am I a new business? Am I a new business owner? Do I need to go to networking events? And I was like, well, I am sort of, but then I also already know a lot of people. So it's a mind, it messes your head a little bit. So I have to keep remembering, I'm not starting from scratch. I'm starting from a different place. I can use the ace cards that I've like earned the right to use because they've been amassed over a number of years, but it didn't come that easily.
I like that. And I also, you know, anecdotally, I love being around people that no matter the success they've had or even which tranche it's come from, they're a lifelong learner. You know, someone who is worth £100 million, for example, if they have that aura of I'm worth 100 million, I won't like to be around them. In the same way, if someone's jacked and they tell you, I hate it. But if they are someone who's worth a lot, as won gold medals, whatever it might be, their success, if they are still a lifelong learner and that you can see that they're happy to start from zero, they're happy to have that Dunning-Kruger effect where they think they're good, they realize they're bad and they learn.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect people to be around.
Yeah.
And those people I think are the happiest.
Nice.
Because they're happy. Well, because it's a terrible way of saying it. They're happy because they're happy. I regret saying that.
You can just start again. It's your podcast.
No, I'm leaving it in there. All the mistakes are real mistakes.
Okay, nice. Okay, so one thing I want to add as well on clarify is we are kind of limited as humans by our past experiences, by our frames of references. So you've said, I want to be the owner of a top 10 podcast, but it could be something better. Something better could happen and you might not know it yet. So it's almost like or something better. I would kind of add that to the end of it.
Okay.
And this has definitely happened for me before. So I went for a podcast co-hosting opportunity about a year ago. And I remember thinking that I could kind of picture myself getting this opportunity, getting the yes through. But then I added that this or something better to the end every time I was thinking about it. And then what actually happened is I didn't get that podcast co-hosting opportunity, but a better one came along for a podcast that was like 100 times the size.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, it works. The intention works. I just didn't realize that it could be so much better or so much bigger.
Yeah. That's interesting. So what happens if you don't do that? You just either get disappointed or you get what you wanted and you're not open to the opportunity of something better coming along. You're almost limiting yourself.
Yeah, and I feel maybe there's this phrase that's, oh, if something feels too good to be true, then it maybe is. And I hate that phrase. So it's the idea that you are open to the fact that better things could come along, or everything that you've ever dreamed to be true could just be around the corner. And if you're only aiming for this goal and you're so set on this goal, you might miss the bigger stuff.
It's so true, because we always, or a lot of people that I talk to, they set their time horizon so short, which is a similar way of doing it, right? You're saying, I want this as my sort of success, but nothing more. Same as saying I want that success to happen in 6 months. If it doesn't happen, if it takes another 2 years, it doesn't count. I should have achieved it by then. They don't allow themselves to have that sort of internal win. It's a similar thing.
That's really common. And the time doesn't matter. I feel like everything just takes longer than you think. So
in a rush. It's a conveyor belt though, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're like, I've got to have it done by 30. Otherwise, and then it's like ... What? Nothing's going to go wrong.
Time is just so arbitrary. So yeah, all of this stuff, it never has a by this age, by this time, by this month, nothing like that.
Do you think it would have done if you hadn't have got to the point of selling your business? Do you think you'd still be on that conveyor belt of like, oh God, I have to? Do you think it changed your mindset to be like, I've achieved X and now reset? Because some people haven't gone through that reset.
I think at the point I decided to sell my business, I was aware that I had a lot of other options available to me. And one of them was just going right back to what I did before, where I ran it as a lifestyle business, used it as a kind of cash cow while I traveled and trained. And I was so happy with that option as well. So the age never came into it at all. It was more like, what do I want to do? And then because I had that energy of, yeah, you can buy it, but I also really like running it. So you're going to have to prize it out of my hands. That actually was better. That was so much better for the sale process anyway.
Yeah, with or without you.
So the next section, the L of claims, is learn. So this is where you teach yourself what it feels like. You learn what it feels like for this thing that you're going to make happen to be true. And it's a very emotional thing. So what I want you to do is notice and acknowledge the feelings that come up when you close your eyes and you imagine yourself being the owner of a top 10 business podcast. Feel it in your body almost. Feel how you you might be sitting taller, more confident. You might just be feeling like really satisfied, really grateful, really like, yeah, I've done this. It took a lot of work, but I did it. And so the idea here, and there's a line from Dr. Joe Dispenza, which is teach your body emotionally what it feels like.
That's cool. That comes from sports, right?
Partly from sports, yeah. There's quite a few athletes who discuss doing this. So Paula Radcliffe is one of them. She previously held the women's marathon world record. She's got lots of Olympic medals, and I very early on in my running career, which was not a running career at all, I was very junior, but I read her book How to Run, and she talks a lot about visualization in that book. And part of the kind of learning, the teaching her body emotionally what it feels like to win a race was her picturing the finish line, picturing the time on the clock above the finish line, picturing her friends and family all around clapping, cheering for her, that kind of tin foil, aluminium foil stuff that you get wrapped around you at the end of the race. She would picture that. She would picture every single part of it in detail. And then she would really like feel it. What does it feel like in your body for that to come true? So I think for yours, the moment that you see, we're on that top 10 list, can you kind of go to that moment of like, this is cool?
Yeah, I think I would feel, I think you already said it. I think you'd feel grateful, because I'm very aware that podcasts grow not only because of the host and the team behind it, but actually because of the guests. Because you can access great guests if you've got a good podcast, but they might not perform. You have to help them perform, and they have to be willing to perform. People that get good guests and they don't perform well, maybe it's a favor to their mate, they're going to go on, do this podcast, whatever. But to me, you'd have to realize that you've borrowed so much trust to get to the point of the podcast being that big.
Yep.
You know, look at like Diary CEO is comfortably inside the top 10, probably. I think 5 to 10. It's not the Rogan or the Hula Daddy, whatever it is. But he's done it by getting incredible guests that we might not have heard of in the mainstream. They're still well known in their own right, but they've performed so well for him, and he's reciprocated that back. So he must be so grateful to them for allowing that to happen. So it's sort of a double-edged sword, I think, in getting a podcast of that size, because you rely so much on people being brilliant. Whereas if I'd have said I want to deadlift 300 kilos, it's probably just me on my own and a very good coach, I'm assuming. And to your point there about visualizing or feeling, letting your body feel what it must be like. It reminds me of, I think it's the Stoltman brothers, the Scottish guys who are like the strongest guys in the world now. And he talks a lot about visualization and the feeling, the kinesthesis feeling in your body when you're doing deadlifts and these massive lifts. Because if you have that inkling, you'll know exactly the same, right? If you have that inkling that this snatch or whatever is not going to quite land properly, it's going to really be heavy off the ground, it won't work.
No. And so, especially it's Luke Stoltman, isn't it? Who, King of the Stones.
The older guy,
So, is it Luke or is it
Luke's the older one, the younger one.
Tom.
He's the strongest guy in the world 3 years in a row or something.
And when he won, the first time he won, he shouted at the camera, "King of the Stones, baby." Yeah, it was so good. I love that. But he will have visualized lifting those Atlas stones time and time again. And he will have felt what it feels like to be on that podium, to be you're the world's strongest.
You have to believe it. I mean, I heard this quote recently, and I think I've said it on the podcast before, but it's, to succeed, you have to have this incredible confidence in yourself, but you shouldn't have overly high confidence in what you're currently doing, because it might not be the boat that takes you to the island where you want to get to. But you will find the right boat at the right time. Okay, I like this. This kind of leads me on to the next one. So the A is assume. Okay. Believe it's true and act as if it's already happened. And then think, how would you act differently now, assuming that it had already happened? And I think about this one quite a lot with money goals. So imagine that the affirmation that you said at the start, the thing that you're going to make true is, I am a millionaire, or even I am a billionaire. What would you do right now if that had already happened? Because I think so many people will talk about money as if they don't have money. And then I feel like what happens is you keep talking about money as if you don't have money, and all you do is send out signals that you associate money with something that isn't for you, something that other people have, something that greedy people have, and then it continuously doesn't come within your reach. Whereas if you kind of change your money beliefs, if you assume, I'm a millionaire, I'm a billionaire, money comes easily to me, I always find ways to add value, there's money everywhere, like it's down the back of my sofa, it's so easy to make. If you have those kind of assumptions, then you're so much more likely to actually get the thing that you've got in mind. 100%. So it's not greed from one point of view, you know, I want more money. It's just not being around the scarcity of money is something I don't have. Yep. Yeah, I really like that. We've just been with Antonia's brother, who's got a business in Copenhagen, really cool content studio in Copenhagen. And he had this amazing philosophy. He's a few years younger than us. He's in his mid-20s. And he was talking about, he doesn't really mind spending money on whatever it might be that's going to make him and his partner's life better. Because he's like, at the end of the day, I've got the confidence that I and my team will go make more sales. We'll make sales here. We'll try that. He's got a proper founder mentality of, I will just try. I'll keep going and it will work. And it obviously is working for him already, but there's other ways. There's no ceiling. Yeah. I think that's really interesting, because you're right. There's a lot of people who are around who just go, oh, I hate Lamborghinis. Or I hate people who drive this. It's like, is that because you can't afford one and you really want one?
Yeah.
Is that what's actually happening?
Yeah. And then it's confusing because if you associate money or extreme wealth with greed or undesirable qualities, then it's like, but do you want that or do you not want that? Because you want it, but you're going to be different. So why aren't those people different? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And this is all about clarity and it all making sense.
And people who have made millions don't really talk about money that much, or they talk about wealth building. Yeah. They don't talk about the small things in life, do they?
No, and they don't care that they just bought a coffee for $12 because it's just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, it reminds me, this entire sort of, this part of the analogy reminds me of, I think it's Gary Vee who's like, you should act as though you've got a TV crew watching you all the time. And so when I'm at home and I'm on the treadmill at like 6 a.m, working on stuff and the treadmill's going, and I'm like, I don't need anyone to watch me. Because I know that when we win, if we have a good week, good month, good quarter, I know why. And then, we've had this conversation before. People will always message you and go, what trick have you got? What trick have you learned? And you're like, nothing. Same with like fitness, isn't it? Like, what's the diet? Or is it 10,000 steps a day?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not one thing.
Yeah.
There's so many things. And I feel like if you just act in exactly what you're saying, if you act as if someone's watching you, it's unlikely you're going to fail in the same way as if you act as though you've already made it.
Yeah, nice. So also in this is identity, and that's in the assume. So if you assume that you've already got the thing, then it becomes your identity. And then imagine if your thing was, I have an amazing physique, or I can lift 300 kilos in a deadlift. Your identity becomes, I don't eat the donuts. I do go to the gym. I'm not someone who skips it. And it kind of becomes very easy for you to be that person because you're acting in accordance with that thing that you believe that you already have, that you're assuming to be true.
Should you change that, or should you always keep it the same? So I'm thinking, if you're getting towards the goal, I'm trying to play devil's advocate on the money front.
Yeah.
Because the physique one, obviously you would never eat the donuts if you're trying to get to it. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But on the money one, say you want to hit $1 million a month, and so you're getting towards that. Should you change who you're acting to be? Because that person that you're acting to be might also have changed. In my mind, I'm thinking of like Stephen Bartlett. So he's got a top podcast, or Chris Williamson. If I act like them now, the podcast will grow. But at some point, I'm going to have to stop acting like them. Otherwise, I just become them.
Yep.
So how do you keep your personality and your own thinking intact?
I mean, I think what you just described is literally fake it till you make it.
Probably.
So I did this at primary school. So I wasn't super confident when I was about 8 or 9. And there was a girl in my class called Brenna, and she was super confident. And I always thought it was because she had 2 big brothers. So she kind of learned how to be confident because they were a bit kind of cocky. And I remember she would always sing and dance and she just never cared what anyone thought. And I was like, that is the energy. So somehow the kind of 8-year-old version of me decided that they were going to act more like Brenna. And that's what I did. I'd be like looking at her and be like, okay, cool, I can do this too. And then eventually I didn't need to act like Renner anymore because I became this more confident version of me. So I think there probably is a moment that you switch and you're like, I don't need that anymore. But you use it as a tool as much as you need to. You probably don't need to because you're not trying to act like any of those people you mentioned. You're just acting like the version of you who already has the thing.
Yeah.
So it's just whatever helps you, I think.
Do you think people are better people when they're around you? I'm not talking in like an arrogant ego way. I'm just saying, do you think, maybe that's a way of qualifying this as well. Do you make people around you better people, however you qualify better, by just doing what you're doing?
Yes. I get that feedback a lot.
Oh, there you go. So why? What do you think effervesces from Jodie Cook?
I think I only see someone's highest version and I treat them like that. You know, in Shallow Hal, have you ever seen that film? No. So there's a film called Shallow Hal, and it's where there's a guy called Hal and he's really, really shallow and he will really kind of dismiss people if he doesn't think that they're attractive, and he will just like not bother with people, and he always goes after these like beautiful women, and then he gets like hypnotized to only see someone's inner beauty the whole time, and then he falls in love with Gwyneth Paltrow, and then in the actual film it's like kind of funny because he sees her as Gwyneth Paltrow, but in actual fact she's like this really overweight, like not kind of attractive version of her. And I feel like I always see someone's like Gwyneth Paltrow version, and then if you treat them like that, they act like that, and then they become that as well.
Can you tell the story of when we had dinner with you and your husband, and you told us how both of you meet someone and how you then judge them? Because you do it in the exact opposite way, which I think is also interesting, because you've got that sort of that way of batting each other off.
I forgot about this. Yeah. My husband and I are very similar, but also very different. And we realized that we have a very different operating system for when we first meet someone. And my operating system is, you're amazing, prove me right. So I just assume that someone's really, really awesome, and then they have to lose that. Yeah. They have to lose that opinion. I don't know how to say his one without swearing. So let's go with, you're a jerk.
Nice.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
And it's just different. And what it means is that I'm probably quite friendly at first and quite like, oh, tell me more about you at first, and that's because I'm a massive extrovert as well. So maybe I just really like people and I get a lot of energy from people, whereas he's more on the introvert side. So he's more like, I don't want to expend my energy on you unless I know that you're going to be worth it, which sounds horrible, and he's a really great person. It's not horrible, but we just have very different operating systems. And maybe if anyone listening knows their operating system in either of those, but I feel like Freddie, yours is the same as mine.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But Antonia's is the same as Ben's.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Which
maybe
is why I
it's
think
good to have that balance.
Exactly. I think it's really, really important, because imagine if both of you were sort of like us, where we're like, you're brilliant, prove me right.
Yeah.
You're probably going to get mugged off quite a lot. Like, stuff's going to go wrong if you're both the same way, because there's no balance of what's the contrarian opinion of this person.
Yeah. I think our way needs a bit of a filter.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've developed that through many, many mistakes. But sometimes Ben and Antonia's way needs softening.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, give them a break. Yeah, they were late. It doesn't mean they're a bad person. You're late sometimes.
I think we would get more opportunities in our way.
Yes.
But you're going to have to do more work, because you're going to go through a lot of people that aren't maybe, they're going to prove you wrong pretty quickly.
Yeah, although there is something about someone who's got the operating system, you're a jerk, prove me wrong. There's something often that means that you want to impress those people because they're not easily impressed.
That's true. They don't smile when you first meet them.
Pause. Sorry, it's me, Freddie, interrupting myself. I just want to point out how well this guest is doing at building trust with you, the audience. They're adding value, they're giving inspiration, and they're hopefully educating you on a few different areas. You see, we're in a trust recession, and becoming a podcast guest is literally the best way to continue to build trust while so many are struggling. We've built a community of incredible entrepreneurs, all becoming the top most in-demand podcast guests in the world. And if you click some of our links below, not only have we got templates to help you become a top guest, we've also got a community that you can join to get yourself to where you want to be. Thank you so much for listening and watching these episodes. It feels like you're really part of the journey with us. And can I ask you one favor to help us grow even further? You may have noticed that we've been getting some amazing guests on. We've got more listeners than ever. But you can help us continue to give value to you by clicking that subscribe or follow button below. It helps us to show everyone else how well we're doing, and therefore give you more value by getting bigger guests and take the podcast on the road. It takes you 2 seconds and it's completely free, and it helps us more than you know. Now back to the episode.
They don't smile when you first meet them.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm smiling straight away. Great to meet you.
Yeah. It's the puppy dog vibe. Yeah, exactly.
It is interesting.
So the assume to be true part of this as well can be thought about as how you act when you know you have something. And one small example that I quite like is, imagine that you're opening a jar. You know that you don't kind of try and hope that you're going to open this jar. You just go, and then it opens. And I feel like, have you ever opened a jar that someone has failed to open before you?
It's brilliant.
It's the most satisfying feeling in the world. But I think it's not a strength thing. I don't think it's a strength thing. I think it's that they didn't believe that they could open it. Whereas I'll go, I can open this, and then it happens.
I agree. And often people won't even try. they'll just look at someone else and go, can you try that? Because I don't open jars. I can't open jars.
Yep.
It's all in your mind.
And that's the identity. I'm someone who doesn't open jars. I can't open jars, and therefore it backs it up. You get what you think you are.
Do you think that's the same with sales? Because sales calls, I think, are a big mindset thing. I'm not going to make this sale before you sit on the call, or I haven't had my coffee that I always have when I make sales, means that sale's never going to close.
Yeah, I think so. But I think this also connects back to, because we talked about kind of trying and effort, and the idea is that trying implies effort, and effort implies lack. This is a Neville Goddard quote. And so if you're kind of trying hard, or if you're putting effort in, you're kind of not acting like you're someone who already has it. Whereas if you get on that sales call believing that you already have $100 million business, then you act totally different to if someone like, oh, I'm just trying, I'm seeing what happens, I'm signing up to that business degree, but I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. It's such a different energy.
So I completely agree. I couldn't agree more. I love when I'm looking at, so maybe a mentor or working with the business, I love when that business is doing really well, and when you're on the call with whoever it might be, sales, founder, whoever it is, when they know they're doing well, and they're not cocky, but they're just like, yeah, this works 100%. Do you want me to send you infinite testimonials? Or because I'm not looking at the quality, I'm looking at like the energy, depending on what the service is, obviously. But if it's a mentor, for example, if they've got that energy and they've got the proof to back it up, it's the best feeling in the world. There's no reason you wouldn't do it, in the same way as the jam jar.
Yep.
If you know you're going to do it, it opens and you're like, this is perfect.
I was born to open this jam jar.
I literally am born to open jam. I think it's all energy, if I'm really honest. I think our business took a massive turn when we just believed we're amazing. We are genuinely really, really good at what we do. And then what you do is you start asking for stuff more often. You start asking for podcast guests. You start asking for sales. You start asking for testimonials. And then the whole thing snowballs. And you've seen this multiple times, right? It's just that energy shift.
Yeah. So one example that springs to mind here is a friend who I invited him to an event, and he said, is my future wife going to be there? And I said, well, I don't know. Describe her to me. And so he described me this woman who he described what she looked like. He described what kind of career she had. He basically was describing his dream wife. And I was like, cool, I'll find her for you. But first up, you've sent me your list of what you want. What's on her list? Because a chick like that is not just going to settle. Like, she sounds amazing. Do you match that? And so it was almost this, because he looked at me exactly as you did, like, huh? What? I need to think about how I come to this relationship. Yeah. But that's almost the thing. If someone who is married to someone like that, what do you assume to be true about who you are? What kind of person do you need to be? And then are you being like that? Because like attracts like. You're going to get the kind of person you want if you are the kind of person that they want. And that's just how it works. And
it's really hard to give that list as, from your own point of view, isn't it? Because you're then saying, maybe I have got flaws and maybe I'm not as good as I think I should be. I deserve more than I actually am. And we've had this conversation before, especially in relationships. You tend to be with someone who's very similar to you. It's very rare that you find someone who's like a 10 out of 10 with a 1 out of 10, regardless of whatever they might have or not have. But it is interesting. It is interesting how it matches up. I've completely forgotten the little point I wanted to make there, but it's going to come back.
It was about writing a list. It was about having a list and you having the energy that matches that, you changing yourself to
I know what it's going to be. So we were talking about writing out what the vulnerabilities might be of yourself. Do you believe, or what's your opinion on giving someone or telling people what your goals are? Like, I want to be a top 10 podcast host. What are the risks of doing that? Because obviously there's the benefits of going, this is my goal, telling the world and saying, I want to get here. I'm vulnerable. People might laugh and go, it's never going to happen. So people don't do that. And one of the philosophies that we've had for a long time is keep it private till it's permanent. Because I like that. I think privacy is luxury. But in a lot of ways, you feel like people actually aren't coming on the journey with you because you're not showing the things that maybe they would like to see, like the failures, like the promises you've made to yourself, or like the big goals you're going after. What's your take on that?
So first of all, I think when you're talking about your goals, I don't think that you should use the phrase I want. I think you should use the phrase I am, or I'm going to, or I will, because want just attracts more want, whereas I am, it's like, that's the thing. And then I think you could visualize this. So if you said to me, I'm going to be a top 10 podcast host, I'd be like, yeah, cool. Because I've seen your setup. I know how pro you are. I know how much you research for stuff. Like, it just makes sense. If you are saying that to someone who says, no, that's never going to happen, it's either a you problem or a them problem. And it's a you problem because you're not embodying that person. They can't imagine it happening because you're not. That's not, like, if you were like, oh, I'm going to be on the Olympic swim team, it's like, are you? Do you even swim now? But if you already were swimming every day, if you were already doing all right in it, then it's like, okay, yeah, cool. So that's when it would be a you problem. If it was a them problem, it's just simply because they haven't got their stuff together enough to be able to celebrate someone else. Because I think there's plenty of people who will just knock other people down because they see it as a slight on them. So they see you shining your light really brightly as dimming them in some way. Whereas I don't feel like truly successful people who really want the best for you would ever do that.
I really like that. And Tony and I on this trip, we're sort of away in the summer for a couple of months from Dubai. We've been talking a lot about how we just really want other people around us to succeed. And that's like our vision. It's not very nice to write down that as a vision for the business, but it's just something that I like when people around us do really well and you see them trying their best, failing, trying again. And I think when you say it to people, some people really don't like it. They lean away and go, why do you want everyone to do well? And that immediately sort of puts me off that person.
Yep.
Because you're like, well, why? I don't understand why not. Yeah. But maybe it's because they're not, like you say, you put it really well there. I mean, they haven't got their own stuff together enough to be able to help other people.
I just feel like when you know who you are and you know what you want and you know where you're going, you have this big sense of cosmic oneness that we're all in this together, and you feel like you just want other people to do well, and you also don't feel like you're in competition with them at all. Like, I literally compete against people in a sport and I never feel like I'm in competition with anyone, which is like confusing to me. But I think that competition is overall actually weakness. I think it's better to just think you're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing. And even if, say, someone signed up to like my company, Coach Fox, and then they left and they were like, oh, we're going somewhere else, and like we've found another product and they're your competitor, it's like, oh, I don't really see them as my competitor. Like, that's cool, you go do whatever is right for you, and the people who are right for us will come and work with us, and that's it. And it's so much nicer and it feels a lot healthier.
I mean, you're a great example of that, because you do if you gave me a recommendation for anything, a person to meet up with, a guest, I'm always like, definitely. Because I know that we get on. I know who you are as a person. I know people around you. I know Ben. So I know it's going to be good. So there must be something around that as a person. People have that energy, because there's also people that, you know, send us messages about having this person as a guest, and we immediately just go, oh, definitely not. Because if they're friends of you, I don't really like you. So you're not coming in, that's not happening.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that is like there's definitely an energy around people, isn't there? People that have that mindset that you have.
Yeah.
Around competition, around business, around life, around almost that force field of we're here to help each other, that I just think resonates so strongly.
Yeah, it's people who play the long game, but they don't even think about it as playing a game. I think it's the generosity thing. I think it's making introductions, giving. There's a lot in it, but people show their colours. Over a long enough time scale, people just show their colours.
This is actually genuinely why I love podcasting, because in an hour, no one can hide their colours.
Yeah.
So they think they can,
yeah.
and they really can't over an hour. Like, it'll come out.
So the next one in the system is I, in the claim system, and it's imagine. And this is picture the scene of your big goal coming true, but happening in a lot of detail. So the exact moment that you realize it's true, describe it, and it's almost like you're walking through being in the shoes of the version of you that has that thing. And so one example I have is when I was about 3 years into running my business, Ben and I, my husband and I, booked a trip to Australia, and there was so much to do in the business before we got on that plane for that 5-week trip, when I had a 7-person agency that definitely did not run itself. And I knew I was at the bottom of this mountain of systemizing, making processes, upskilling my team. But I watched videos about Australia. I visualized myself getting on that plane. I visualized myself at the end of the trip coming back to the UK and realizing that nothing had gone wrong and I could do it again. And I pictured everything.
Wow.
So thinking about yours, you are the owner of a top 10 podcast. How do you know? What does it look like when that happens? Walk me through almost like the day that you find out that that's true.
Okay, so I'm 30 now. If we open the time horizon, so say I'm 40. So it takes...
Forget the time.
Oh,
doesn't matter.
Completely. It's just the day.
You have no idea how old you are at the time it happens.
Oh, it's literally just the day. I was trying to think of myself as like a 40-year-old guy.
Imagine that you look roughly like you now, but maybe you've got a few more grey hairs.
I don't have any now.
Well, there you go.
Okay, so what would happen? So I'm sure we'd know we're getting close. We'd be watching some sort of live countdown, maybe of subscribers or whatever the platform is at the time. We would be speaking to people that have been guests over the years, because I'd want to show how grateful we are. I'd definitely have people around me, people that have been on the journey, maybe even some sort of party, or there'd be some sort of event that week. There'd be something going on so that everyone's together. And then I guess you'd look at the charts, right? So you'd be looking at how have we quantified top 10. I think right now I'd be quantifying it in like the Apple charts. You know, right at the top, it's the highest you could possibly get, top 10 charts. And you'd tick over it, you'd jump into there, and you'd have that amazing feeling of like, whoa, that journey was worth. I think for me it would come down to that ideology of it was worth it. Maybe that's not right though. Maybe it's a we've achieved something. That was amazing. That was the goal we set out. Worth it is probably the wrong way of thinking about it, because that's, if you don't hit that, was it worth it? Yes, still worth it. I still love it. But it's like a culmination of all that work. So it would be an overwhelming sense of the thing that we started from a kitchen table with a $30 lapel mic and some mates became something that benefited millions of others, because in reality no one listens to podcasts if they don't benefit them. So that would be the sense of achievement I'd have.
So you're kind of skipping ahead to the next one, which is M for meaning, but you did that by accident. But I really like that you've connected it already to the meaning. Okay.
It means your system works.
Yeah, I guess so. But in just the imagine one,
yeah.
I really like that you said, okay, something about the Apple charts, because that means that you could Photoshop the Apple charts with your podcast in there, yeah. And that could be printed out in front of you at all times. That could be your desktop background. That could be something that really does make you look at it and go, this is it coming true. This is that moment, and I can feel it. And then you get that feeling that we mentioned before in one of the previous steps. You get that feeling and you kind of connect with it all the time. And so yours for this one, for a podcast, that makes perfect sense. It could be if you're looking for a business exit or a revenue number, you could see the money coming into your account. It could be your bank account with a different, I've got friends who Photoshop different amounts into their bank account to visualize that happening. I wrote myself a pretend check before I sold my agency with the exact amount, signed it from the perfect buyer, put the date on it. Maybe it's you receiving the keys to your dream home. Maybe it's sometimes before a lift, I kind of visualize in a picture my coach saying that was the best you've ever benched that, or that was the fastest you've ever deadlifted that.
Okay.
And then it comes true after, and you're like, yes.
So it's actually it's like defining your ICP. Make it as specific as possible.
Yes, yeah, as specific as possible. You want to like fully picture the scene of it coming true, and you want to know everything about it. So if it was like some kind of sports competition, imagine that you want to get this like high rocks time. It's like, what does it feel like when you're on the podium? What does it feel like when you can see the clock? Like going back to the Paula Radcliffe one, and then what does the floor look like? What does that ski erg look like? What does everything look like? Kind of get really, really familiar with all of it.
I guess you could even do smells, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Like if you're thinking of high rocks and you're training in the gym, you know what it smells like in a high rocks competition. Maybe.
Like the smell of success. I feel like this is a thing. So in between businesses, Ben and I were writing different business ideas in an Excel spreadsheet. And I think one thing that we wrote down was just because we were coming up with kind of stupid ideas, and one of them was like a perfume called the Smell of Success.
Nice. What does it smell like?
Just, I don't know, mahogany, I don't know.
I think you say nothing, that's the whole point.
Oh yeah, but the idea, yeah, exactly. So that every time you smell that smell, it's like a reminder that this is you achieving that thing.
I think that would work really well. Actually, that might work better than like seeing.
Yeah, depending on how you take stuff in a sensory way. Yeah.
That's interesting, because actually I could, like, when I think of podcasts, I usually think of the smell of coffee as well.
Yeah.
Because the guest has coffee or someone has a coffee. There's always coffee in the room when someone's doing podcasts. So that'd be quite cool.
Yeah.
I actually know a guy who, before or when he sold his business, he went to a cash point. You know, a lot of cash points in the UK, at least, you can just click check balance.
Yeah.
And it was like 7 figures, blah, 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 blah. And he has that printed off. And he said a similar thing where he's like, if I went back, I would have that screenshot and I would Photoshop it first, have it on my wall somewhere. Exactly the same as what you said.
Nice.
But like old school, like CFAX.
Yep.
You know?
So it could be sounds as well. If there's going to be a certain sound that you hear that means, yes, this thing's come true. So I think about this with the national anthem quite a bit because I'm going to be a bench press world champion. And so I picture myself at the top on the podium with them saying, and now it's the national anthem of Great Britain. Like, I'm not really like patriotic, but when that comes on, that's the visualization that's in my head. And if you especially connect to stuff in an auditory way, then you can feel very emotional when it comes up because it's that signal that thing has come true, and you almost feel like you're kind of transcending time and you can picture yourself there and the sound connects it.
Do you know what I love about this acronym is that we're pulling things from other places as if they're new to entrepreneurship, because they probably are, but then you find where people are already doing it and have done for tens or decades and decades. So when you just said that, then I was thinking Formula One, right? So it started in the 1950s. That visualizing a track and visualizing winning is something they do multiple times per week, every week for each track, because you have to. You can't just get into a car, drive 200 miles an hour around a corner and like hope. You've got to visualize the whole thing. And so we're bringing that across and going, this makes obvious sense. Like, look at these guys doing it at the top of their game.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you visualize? They can smell everything, the tires, the petrol, everything, the champagne.
There are people who know about this stuff and they have been doing it for years and years, and I feel like it's evaded business people because they can be so freaking logical that they don't feel enough. And you know, Myers-Briggs. So, like, do you know what you are?
No.
So I
probably do.
ENTJ. My husband's an INTJ. Lots of entrepreneurs are NTJ types. The N means that you're intuitive, like very big picture thinking, visionary. The T means thinking. The opposite of T is feeling, thinking and feeling. So many entrepreneurs are on the thinking scale, which means that lots of this stuff doesn't actually make logical sense. You have to feel it. But that's why it's like they often don't do it.
Yeah. How does someone find the Myers-Briggs test if they're listening to this?
16 personalities is one of the online tests that you can do. It looks like it's not going to take a long time, and then there's just more and more questions, but that will give you your thing. And if you're an entrepreneur, then you might find that you're a very traditional, a kind of very typical entrepreneur score, which is kind of interesting. And then the report that you get after it will tell you your strengths, your weaknesses, and there's really funny memes as well. That's the best thing.
Really?
Find out what you are and then type it into Google and put memes, and you will feel so seen. It's crazy.
This is exactly me, this meme of whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay. You can pause the podcast to do that. It's worth doing.
You can pause the podcast to do that. Yeah, sure. So also on Imagine. So I've had it before where I've described to myself how a powerlifting competition is going to go in so much detail that I've walked through the whole thing. So I've walked through turning up at the venue, weighing in, having my kit check, doing my rack heights, squat, bench, deadlift, absolutely every single lift. And then when I've been there doing it, it's felt less like I'm turning up to lift and more like I'm stepping into the version of myself that's already done the thing. And it's such a weird feeling. And I talked about that on a podcast once, and someone got in touch and she said, does it take away from the achievement? Is that strange? Do you get that same feeling? Or does it now feel like, oh, I've already seen this? It's almost like a deja vu. And I think that it doesn't take away from the achievement at all. I think what it actually opens me up to thinking is, oh my goodness, if I've created this situation, what else can I do? And then because you're only limited by your imagination, there's nothing stopping me from, in my head, going up and picking up your 300 kilo deadlift. There's nothing stopping me from doing that. So therefore, if you can put all these steps in order and you can do this, you could do it with anything. And seeing that happen just makes me think there's more to this. There's more that I can do it for.
But your friend had a great point, and because could it also enhance the sense of failure? If you visualize so much winning, not only you didn't win, but now you feel like, whoa, I really felt like what winning was going to be. like to me, and now I've failed and I've got to start again.
So I feel like this is where the time thing comes into it, because you could have visualized winning a competition and then you don't win a competition, and then you're so sure still, you've still got that certainty. So it's like, oh, it's the next one.
I see. It has to be open-ended almost.
I think so, yeah. I
So
think
it's like
that's really
opening and closing
important.
loops. Oh, I
Because
like that.
otherwise you would have that sense of crushing failure. If you hit 40 and you haven't got to this goal, then are you a failure? No, of course you're not, because you're not going to think you're a failure if you hit it at 42. So just take the time thing out of it.
And also, how big should the goal be? Because you may never achieve. I may never achieve my goal, but I have the confidence that I'll get there. But maybe I never will. Maybe that's fundamentally
This
wrong
or
in the first
something
place.
better.
Oh yeah, okay. This was something better to start with. It has to be.
Did you just give the camera a side eye for that
Yeah,
one?
side eye to the camera.
nice.
Whoops.
Okay, so M in claims is meaning. This is important. Okay. So this is about transcendence. And are you familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got the different steps, and then do you know what's at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Self-actualization.
Wrong.
Oh.
So it was.
Okay.
Until Maslow's later years, the thing at the top of his hierarchy of needs was self-actualization, but in his later years, he put at the top self-transcendence. So self-actualization is all about you. It's about you achieving your highest potential. It's about you being like doing all this amazing stuff. But self-transcendence is less about you and more about the world, everyone, humanity, the people. And so connecting the goal of what you are going to achieve to a higher purpose is what really makes it a thing.
Okay.
And I feel like I've experienced the power of this. So I had a powerlifting competition. It was the Arnold Sports Festival. It was actually in my hometown, and training leading up to it had gone terribly. So all 3 of my bench presses, I'd only ever got the first one in training. I'd missed the second, I'd missed the third, time and time and time again. But we weren't going to change the plan for the day because I just had a feeling it would be okay. And then when I turned up to the competition, my mom and dad had come to watch because it was in my hometown. My best friend was there, my sister was there, my sister's husband, and Joanna, my general manager in my team. And there was something about seeing all of them there that gave me this whole new sense of like, oh, this is bigger than me. And there was something about this idea that this isn't about me saying, oh, I lifted really well. This is about my dad saying, that's my daughter. Or this is about my best friend saying, that's my best friend. Or my sister saying, that's my sister. It's like, that means more. And then what actually happened is I got my first lift, I got my second lift, and I got my third lift. And none of them had happened in training at all, but they all came into play on the platform because everyone was watching. And then if you connect it even bigger, it's like, you can't just have your goals for you and for what they mean for you. And even it just being your closest family would probably not actually be enough. It's more like, what does this mean for the world? So if I can lift more and more in bench press, then that means that other women believe that they can also lift weights. It means that other people believe that they can achieve their top physical potential because they see someone else doing it. It's like there's so much more to this. And maybe other entrepreneurs believe that now they can run a business and also pursue their passion in sport because you don't have to choose between health and business success. So I'm thinking with your podcast thing, with the podcast goal, you kind of already said this. It's like, what does it mean for the world for you to achieve that goal?
Yeah, I guess it's around helping people, isn't it? So the amount of people that would have to get to that stage, we would have to be helping millions of people a month with the content, with the guests, bringing people and qualifying them as the top guests in the world, and then giving that information out to people.
Because the ripple effect is huge. Every single episode, an hour and a half long. Every single episode listened to by hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, so the benefits would be massive. You'd be making business insights so accessible, and hopefully in so many different ways from so many different people, that you would see the breadth of who can succeed in business, in entrepreneurship. So it would be massive. It would be global. It would be incredible.
I wonder if this is why adversity can be so powerful as well. Because if you come from adversity, then you've been through tough times yourself, but you've also seen other people go through tough times. So then you probably have more of a sense of, if I do this, this is what it will mean for other people who are also in my position.
Yeah.
I think about this a lot in writing, because whenever I'm writing just guidance, tips, anything, I'm always writing to the former version of me who didn't know what she was talking about or didn't know what she was doing. And it's like, this is me helping her in some way. So then you've got that feeling that because you're helping a former version of you, and because lots of people have the same challenges, you're helping like everyone who was once in that position, who had that exact same struggle. And then it helps you connect. And then I feel like you never need to try, you never need to put the effort in. It's not like, oh, I've got to book another podcast episode, or I need to write another article. It's always, the ripple effect of this is so big, how could I not do it? And then you find the flow, and then you find the titles just come at you, and then it's easy to book it, and nothing feels like that much effort.
That's really interesting, actually, because I think a lot of people would say the step before that, which is do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life. But actually, that's probably still not enough. You actually do need something that's going to help others. If that's what resonates with you. You said have a bigger meaning. That's more important, actually, because your vision might not be helping people, might be helping dogs or getting to Mars, whatever it might be. I've gone really niche there with the dog one, I can tell by your face.
Helping dogs get to Mars.
Yeah. But the point is that I don't actually believe that doing something you love is enough. I think there has to be more to it. I think there has to be benefits probably to you and your family. There has to be benefits to in my case, people. I want people to succeed, because you see a lot of people that are really struggling, you know, whether it's your friends or family or just people you come across, and you're like, you could do way more. If I could find a person who could come and speak about confidence or whatever on the podcast, I know I can send that link to you and it's going to help. And that person probably charges £2,000 or £3,000 an hour for their advice, but you're getting it for free. Just working that through, isn't it, over time, and then playing with the games, I guess, that we have said is not really what we're into, but there is a game of business, there is a game of life that we have to negotiate. To your point there as well about getting the best out of yourself in the competition, I quite often think about like race horses. So you can never get a racehorse to run at its top speed unless it has another racehorse alongside it. Like, it's really, really well known that the trainers, especially where we're from in sort of Wiltshire or the southwest, there's almost no point in taking a racehorse to try and get a time unless you have 2 or 3 others with it, because they're so innately competitive. And so we're not talking about competition pushing us, but we are talking about having something prodding you, going, get out of bed today, eat healthily, and try and move the needle towards something that is going to benefit whatever your greater goal is. And that little sort of prod for us is helping people. Or what is that benefit?
Because we don't know for sure that the racehorses are competing with each other.
True.
They could just be trying to stay together.
True.
They're not actually going, oh, I'm going to beat you. It could just be, this is my buddy and we run together.
I don't know enough about horses.
They're accountability buddies.
They could be accountability buddies, yeah.
Could be.
There could be a carrot at the end of the track that they're going after that we don't know about.
It could be anything. So, okay, the next one is, and the final one of this system is sync, SYNC. So assume that this thing is true, and then act in accordance with it being true. Describe the situation, visualize it, do all the stuff that we've talked about so far, connect it to the higher meaning. But then after that, it's like sync up to the version of you who has this thing, and then feel the feeling of having it in terms of gratitude and also relief. So it's almost like it starts with the belief and it ends with the relief, because when you know you've got something, that's what you feel. So if you know you've got money in the bank, you don't like try to have money in the bank, you just know that you've got it, and then you feel relieved. So it's kind of syncing everything up, settling into this new reality, and then fully embodying it and taking the inspired and the aligned action that comes next.
So the key thing there that you just said for me is acting as though it's happened. So imagine if we walk out of the studio now and I have my head held high because I'm like, I am going to have a top 10 podcast globally in the next whatever. Oh, there's no time, sorry. That's different to thinking about the meaning, thinking about, imagining what's happening. That's me fully embodying it and walking away, almost telling people, having the confidence to go, do you know what I'm working on?
Yeah.
I think that sync up bit for me is really, really cool.
I feel like when you really do connect to the purpose as well, you find flow very easily. I actually forgot to say something, and the thing I forgot to say was around when we were talking about meaning and the idea that you could also visualize that. So if your ripple effect is proven by feedback, for example, you could visualize that. So you could have your podcast with all these 5-star reviews, you could actually write what the reviews will say when that happens. You changed my life. This episode was a game changer for me. I went from being sad, unsure, unconfident to feeling like I could take on the world. And it was all down to your episode with Jodie, where you talked about this, that you could kind of visualize the meaning, the transcendent side of things by getting that feedback.
I see. Yeah.
So that
you
it all
literally
connects.
give yourself the feedback early on.
Yeah, visualize the feedback coming. So the idea that when I have a top 10 business podcast, I will be getting 100 messages a day from grateful listeners, and I will feel grateful, relieved, like it was all worth it because I've had that feedback from them. So you kind of create this big visualization map of everything.
What do you think the risk of not doing this is?
The risk of not following this system, I think bumbling along, not knowing when you've achieved what you want to achieve, feeling like you don't really know when you've made it, feeling like you're always nexting, feeling like there's always something coming next, and not really celebrating when it has actually happened. Not recognizing, not realizing that you have everything that a former version of you would have given anything to have, and not allowing yourself to be grateful for it.
Yeah, and missing out on probably so many opportunities from looking at the wrong things. It's almost like someone's looking over here when they should be looking over here by not using the system.
So then the final bit of the final stage is around looking for the signs. And I think this is really fun because I feel like when you know what you want, when you feel with absolute certainty that it's coming your way, that you're going to get it, and when you know that you're taking the aligned action towards it, I feel like the universe kind of winks at you. I feel like you see signs, and mostly we don't see signs, or we miss them because we're just not paying attention, because we're on our phones, because we're scrolling, because we're looking for answers in the next book, the next meeting, the next podcast episode, I don't know. But if you really tune in, then you see the confirmation that you're on the right path.
Yeah.
And that might be a certain number, that might be the feedback that you've already visualized coming true, that might be your coach saying that's the best you've ever lifted, that when you imagine them saying that, it could be anything. But as soon as you have all of these bits in place, that starts happening, and that's when it's like, yes, this is happening.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of your content recently has been very much around the idea of you don't need the next thing. You don't need to listen to another podcast. Implement this one first, and then when you've got the results, move to the next thing, which I think is really valuable, because people don't do that, especially when they're struggling to get up to their first insert X, whatever their goal is. They're just constantly looking for the next course, next podcast, whatever it is. And actually, if you just read one book, implement everything, move on. Yeah. Which I think is what your ethos outwardly at the minute seems to really be, which I really think is cool.
Yeah, it's the consistency. If you vibe with one podcast episode, listen to that exact same podcast episode on repeat, because you'll get something different each time, and then you'll fully do it. And we know that straddling strategies is the worst strategy ever, because you end up just going in different directions, not fully committing to anything, not doing anything well. So stick to the one thing. And there's an album at the moment that I'm listening to on repeat, and it's a lot of this stuff that we've just talked about. So it's called Stop Trying. It's by a guy called Akira the Don, but it's a genre of music called meaning wave, where he repurposes speeches into music. And so it's lots of Neville Goddard's teaching that we've just talked about, but in a really catchy way. There's about 12 songs on the album. It's about 35 minutes long, something like that. But I listen to it again and again and again, because I just want this to be teaching my subconscious how to just be.
I'm going to listen to that on the way back to the hotel.
Yeah.
Jodie, is there anything else as part of this system that you want to go over?
I would just love to have feedback from anyone who's followed this. What's your goal? How will you know when you've achieved it? And then keep in touch, because I honestly believe this is just the way to achieve anything you want.
That is wicked. And everyone knows where to find Jodie Cook: Instagram, on the website, LinkedIn, YouTube.
Sort of YouTube, mainly LinkedIn, but yeah, Jodie, Jodie, and then Cook, Cook.
Perfect. Well, it's our second one together.
Yep.
So I'll see you again in 3 months' time. We'll go again. Thank you so much for your time, Jodie. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to that episode. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I enjoyed speaking to that guest. If you scroll down now, you will find a link to our Healthy Hustle newsletter. There's more than 10,000 people receiving the newsletter every week, and it helps break down how to become a top podcast guest. It will also break down exactly what this guest that you've just listened to did to create such a great episode that you've just listened to. I hope it's helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.